What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be building a freestanding shelf slash counter in this space right here, from my oven over to this wall. If you are familiar, I did have a counter here, but it only went about to right here because there was a freestanding shelf from the wall or from the ceiling down to the floor. And so I removed that as soon as we moved in because I knew that I wanted to get more counter space. But I've just been having the shelf sitting here, metal rack. And so the first thing that we needed to do was to remove this existing cabinetry that was here. It was already starting to break and fall apart, and this would just allow me to have more counter space because I do struggle when I'm trying to bake stuff or roll out dough. It's hard for me to have the amount of space that I need because my table in the dining room has ridges on it, and so that doesn't really work well for creating dough and stuff. And I would just really like to have a flat, long surface in this area. And so that is what we're going to be working on. So in order to start this project, the first thing I had to do was go to Home Depot. I went there yesterday and I knew that I needed the board to be at least 24 inches. And so before I got there, I had looked up butcher block for the top counter because that is going to be the surface that I would obviously have dough and, you know, cooking on and stuff like that. So I was thinking I would put butcher block as the top counter, and then on the other two shelves I could use a cheaper wood like plywood or something, because that is just going to be like counter or cabinet space where I would like hold pots and pans or stuff like that. And so I was looking for a cheaper material on the bottom two layers. When I had originally looked at butcher block, the cheapest one I found was about $150, but they did not have it in stock. So I was just looking around the store and I came across the markdown wood. When I got to Home Depot, immediately I saw that they had discounted plywood on the racks for 70% off. And so immediately I saw one that was really smooth, and I decided that I was going to pick up that one because I thought it would be perfect for the bottom two shelves. It was very smooth. It did have some scratches and stuff like that, but like I said, this is going to be holding pots, pans, you know, dishes, stuff like that that you would put underneath a counter, and it was still smooth enough for me. It was 4x8, and I knew that I only needed 24 inches from the wall out. And then I had measured from the stove to the wall, but I couldn't remember that measurement. So while I was there, I picked up that board and I had him cut it to 24 inches or in half. And then I left it 8 feet because I couldn't remember how much was supposed to be from the stove to the wall. So as I kept walking around the store looking for anything that I could use instead of butcher block, because they didn't have it in stock, the cheapest one that I wanted, I began to notice that they had some plywood, some very nice plywood that was getting very expensive. And so I thought maybe I could use plywood as the counter instead of butcher block. So I did a quick Google search and saw that people did use plywood in order to build countertops to make them look like butcher block or wood countertops. And they painted them, they, you know, did everything that you would do if you had regular wood countertops. And so I watched a quick video, saw that they used basically 2 sheets of plywood. The top they used birch plywood because that is a hardwood tree, and then they used on the bottom a cheaper plywood. And so I went back to the 70% clearance wood section and saw that they had a rougher, cheaper plywood there. This was perfect for me because it would be going on the bottom, and then on the top would be the birch plywood. So then I had to make a decision. A lot of the videos and blogs that I watched said that they created about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of wood by combining the plywood, the cheaper plywood, and the birch plywood. And so I saw that they had 2 different plywoods at Home Depot. They had a 1/2 inch plywood, and then they had a 3/4 inch plywood. The price difference was about $20, I believe. And so I went with the 1/2 inch plywood because I saw that the cheaper plywood that I was getting on discount seemed like it was about 1/2 inch and to 3/4 inch. And then I figured with the birch 1/2 inch, it would make, you know, between 1 inch to 1.5 inches. So that brings us to today. Once my son removed the old countertops and cabinets, there was a big patch of the old existing wall that used to be here when it first was built. And so we had to prime that, and what you're seeing right now is the primed wall. So these are the 3 plywoods that I got. The first one right here is the birch plywood that will be the top layer. The second one right here is the one that I figured could go on the bottom two layers because you can see how smooth it is compared to this one right next to it. But what happened was I had the 4x8 sheet and they cut it in half for me, but when we got home, we had to measure to 5 feet and 4 inches, 5 feet 4 inches and 3/4 of an inch. And I accidentally, you can see where I first marked it at 54 inches by mistake and 3/4. And so it was actually too short. So then I decided, since I had an extra one of this rougher grain plywood, I would actually use that to go at the bottom, because no one's really going to be seeing the bottom except for me. This would go in the middle, and then that would go on the top. And having to use this other rougher plywood instead of the smoother plywood that I originally thought, I had to find a spot that didn't have a lot of breaks in it, because on this rougher plywood there were lots of holes and stuff like that. And so I cut and tried to use the parts that wasn't so bad, but there is one part that is breaking, and I figured that I would use the contact cement to glue it back together and then use that as the bottom layer. I started out dipping my brush into the contact cement and then trying to rub it on that way, but I felt like it was taking a long time, and I was worried that by the time I finished this whole 8-foot piece or this 6-foot piece or whatever, that it was going to start drying and not stick to the top plywood. So then I just started pouring it, and I think that way it went much faster. I was able to spread it at a much faster rate, and then I was able to take the top piece of plywood, the birch plywood, and then put them on top of each other and seal it. I did have my son hold one side for a little while I set it up and just kind of made sure that they were even, because you do want to make sure that they are flush with each other, because so that you don't have to sand a lot. And then after I made sure that they were flush with each other, my son did go ahead, and I did have some nails that was shorter than we needed so it wouldn't go through the top piece. And then he was able to screw in the two boards together with the contact cement so that it would have a good stay and definitely not try to come apart. I think we ended up putting about 2 or 4 nails on each side and then 2 down the middle. I was just holding the boards while he was screwing them together. We did have to make drill holes first and then screw in the nails. Once that was finished, I did start sanding the edges just so that they wouldn't be so pokey and sharp. And then as well as one part where the boards met together, one of the bottom boards, I think it was a little longer than the top board, and so I was just trying to sand that to get it nice and smooth. And then I used the yellow paint that I used on my bottom cabinets in the kitchen to paint that. I decided for this project that I was going to work with Vevor industrial piping. And so here I am just opening it to see what materials I have. This comes with all the pieces that you need to make a shelf, a 3-tier shelf, but in this case I am actually going to be making it as a tabletop, but it shows you the instructions of how to put it together if you wanted to make it into a shelf. These are 12-inch piping. They came nice and packed and protected and very shiny, heavy duty. I was very happy with the quality. I will definitely leave a link in the description box to their site where you can get a discount code off of anything in their store. I have been using lots of piping lately because I am doing my whole kitchen and dining room with this, and on the right bottom part you can see where the 18-inch piping that I had just got off Amazon, how it was missing some color and not as shiny, and it also made my hands very oily, and so I like that the Vevor one was very shiny, not oily, and very sturdy. You guys might remember this is the same place that I received my landscape fabric as well as my greenhouse plastic to make my hoop house with, and so I was very happy to work with them again. The one that says $17.85 is the ones that I've used prior that I've ordered online, and you can actually see the difference in the color and in the size, and so I thought that was really amazing because this should be very heavy duty because this is going to be holding up a counter with lots of pots and pans. After the paint was dry and I had everything assembled, it was time to start screwing in the legs. I did measure and put my legs, the bottom parts, a little further in because if you'll see in a little while, the flooring is actually different from where I took out the existing counters from. the flooring is different, and so the floor actually gets a little lower because it's the original flooring, and I have no plans on changing the flooring at the moment. And so what I just needed was to make sure that the bottom legs were moved in quite enough so that it wouldn't interfere with the legs. I did use 1/2 inch screws because this plywood was probably about a 1/2 inch and I didn't want to pierce it through. And so I just went in and made holes, drill holes, and then Nehemiah screwed in each screw. So she definitely likes to use this drill from now on. It was definitely nice working with her, and I'm glad that we got to do these kind of projects together. When I was little, I definitely liked to build stuff, and so she kind of reminds me of myself in that regard, as far as like liking to help and build things. And so I think she's definitely learning some future skills that she might need. As you can see by her clothes, she likes to help, and so she was helping me prime as well, and she basically primed herself. Her whole shirt is filled with primer, as well as her legs and everything like that, which is completely fine. She's learning, and it was fun. Next, after we got those legs in, we had to build the second shelf, and so we just did the same thing, added the industrial piping, and then had to do pilot holes to screw everything together. And then it was time to paint the tabletop. And this one I did have my son's help, so I started drilling the holes, and then I let him put in the screws, just because it was upside down and he would have to do it by looking up into it. And so that is why I had him do it instead of Nehemiah. This project actually ended up being way easier than I thought it was. When I first got into it, I was kind of dreading it, and I thought that it was going to be more tedious than it was. It actually turned out really, really quick and cool. Once we started, it kind of just flowed and went faster than I imagined. I am happy with the color yellow that I chose. When I first put it on the cabinets, I was like, I'm not sure about this yellow, but now that it's been sitting for about a week, I can say that I am happy about the color. We were kind of using our old counters as like a workstation to end up cutting the wood, as well as just holding paint and stuff like that. But now we actually have it out the house, so that is just amazing. I'm really just excited about having a long counter, because it's been a year since I knew that I wanted to get an extension into the kitchen counter space. This particular night, we were actually playing music and just laughing and being together and enjoying each other's company, which is why there is no sound and I am doing a voiceover. This paint took about an hour to dry, which is really not bad at all, so that we could get this all done in one night. We did have some trouble trying to get it into the kitchen, and I lost that footage, but it was nice and snug, and we just ended up, once we got it there, didn't want to take it back out because it was tedious to get in. And so then my son just started drilling the top board while we were already in the kitchen, so that we wouldn't have to move it and put it back again, because I cut it exactly a snug fit. But even it sitting right there, it just looks so much better than it was looking, and I was really, really happy about it. So it's been a couple days since we got this table slash counter set up. As you can see on the lower levels, we have started using it, but I had the top wood covered because I was waiting on a product that I ordered from Amazon. This was recommended in one of the blogs that I read, that how they sealed their countertops, as well as using a conditioner. So I went and picked up this conditioner from Home Depot today, but I'm going to apply this conditioner first, then I'll apply this Waterlux sealer slash finisher in probably 3 or 4 coats, and I think you have to wait 24 hours between each one, and so this top part will not be in use. And then if all else fails, because I do want to make sure that this is really sealed and that it's not going to get damaged by water or anything, I bought this polyurethane just in case, if I have to, as like a last resort. I didn't really want to put this. I did want to keep it kind of natural and use just this Waterlux, and which is what I've read on blogs. But then I've also read where people painted their countertops and then used polyurethane as a sealer. So whichever combination works, that's what I'll be doing, whichever one is best for me. But I'm going to start off with applying this conditioner. So per the directions, it says apply with a clean soft cloth. So I'm going to use this reusable napkin that I have. And then it says to try and wait an hour, or if the wood is more than 1.5 inches overnight before reapplying. And it says you might want to do 3 to 4 coats. So I actually applied 2 rounds of the conditioner, and now I'm going to start on the water locks. I think I want to do 3 coats of this, and you have to wait 24 hours between coats. It is about 9:30, 9:45 at nighttime. So I'm going to do the first coat now, and then I'll do it for the next 2 more nights after that, and then see how it is from there. But this is how the wood is looking. It does feel different. It does look different. And so I'm excited about this. Okay, it has been actually 4 days since we started this process. I don't know if you can tell, but it's definitely harder. We already started using the counter today, and it looks great. I already, as you can see, filled in these shelves. I don't know if that's going to be a permanent place for everything because I still have to build my upper shelves. But for now, we have it completely filled out, and I just think that it looks so good, especially with having these shelves here. I'm still deciding if I want to put the doors back on. I did start painting the doors, but I'm not sure if I'm going to, or how many. I was thinking about putting the doors back on here and then maybe doing a curtain here. But for now, I am so grateful to have one more project down. If you guys have made it to the end of the video, I want to say thank you so much for watching as we built this counter. I am so happy to have the extra counter space to roll out dough and everything, and I look forward to using this space productively. And I'll see you guys next time.